What is this heavy metal head found in an old toolbox? The head slides up and down on the jaw and has enough weight that it seems to be for holding something. It has the letters PAT in the top section, and it's the same size as a quarter. The two sides of the head seem to be fused together in a way that traps the jaw inside. This has to have some purpose. I've hit my end of research capabilities, so please help me figure out what this is. It's a 19th century toy cap exploder. It was patented on February 8, 1876 by Charles Coaster of Bridgeport, Connecticut. A paper cap is placed in the mouth by pushing the eyelet that moves the jaw to open the mouth. The mouth is closed, and the bomb is cast onto a hard surface, bursting the cap. The top loop of the toy is used to attach a string for the purpose of retrieving the bomb after exploding the cap. What is this hand-carved wooden piece I found in my grandma's basement? Around 3 feet by 1 foot, with no writings, and it looks very old. My initial thought is a cabinet door. Any ideas? It's a 1950s Dogon granary door from Mali, and is an authentic piece of African tribal art. It's a carved wooden panel that protected a granary, and served as a symbol of protection, status, and spiritual importance. A more elaborate and grand design indicated a higher social status within the village. These doors featured intricate carvings of ancestors, primordial beings, and symbolic motifs like sun lizards and masks to ward off spirits and ensure the safety of the stored grain harvest. Growing up near DC, I spent a lot of time at the Smithsonian, including the awesome African Art Museum, and in shops and outdoor markets where African sculpture is sold. Granary doors are good export pieces because they are relatively small and can be very beautifully carved, like yours, and a lot of the examples you find are Dogon. They're masters of the granary door, and the repeated abstract human figure motif is popular. What is this brass tube with a mirror inside and a hinged arm, found with my grandfather's things after he died? About 4 inches long when extended, and a cap has Gilbert engraved on it. Any help with figuring out what it is and how old would be awesome. It's a folding borescope for inspecting gun barrels and was used at the end of the 19th century and through the 20th century. Inside the scope is a small mirror placed at a 45-degree angle. Sliding the attached cover off and unfolding the handle allows the scope to be placed in the breech of the gun, making it possible to examine the bore without removing the barrel from the gun. Having a light source near the mirror allows the bore to be examined from the muzzle. These were carried by section leaders to inspect their troops' Enfield rifles, as well as supplying to each Vickers gun and Lewis gun. What is this 2-inch copper tube on tiny legs, found in a box of stuff? We have no idea what it is. It seems to be in sections, but they don't unscrew, or they are very difficult to unscrew. Any help would be awesome. It's a fuse for a German S-mine, known by enemy Allied forces as the Bouncing Betty on the Western Front, and Frog Mine on the Eastern Front. These nicknames are given to the mine because once triggered, the mines bounce or jump like a frog into the air to about between waist or neck height. The explosion projects a lethal spray of shrapnel in all directions. The S-mine was an anti-personnel mine developed by Germany in the 1930s and used extensively by German forces during World War II. It was designed to be used in open areas against unshielded infantry. What is this tool found in an antique store? When it retracts, it clamps down the other end, and when it is compacted, it opens up just like a clamp. The question is, what kind of clamp is it exactly, and where was it used? A coworker just mentioned that it actually might be a spreader of some sort due to how the arms are shaped. It would not really be a good clamp the way they are shaped. What would something like this be used for? It's a 1920s valve spring compressor, an early automotive repair tool used to remove and install the valve springs in internal combustion engines. In engines with poppet valves, each valve is held closed by a strong coil spring. To service or replace valves, Mechanics needed a way to compress that spring safely so the valve retainer and keepers could be removed. That's what the valve spring compressor was for. This thing was traveling with a huge police escort on I-70 between Dayton and Indianapolis. I'm not sure why it needed as much of an escort as it did. I was thinking nuclear. It was heading west, by the way. Any ideas on what this is? It's a continuous cooker for removing water from animal byproducts, such as meat, bone, and fat. It was used to recycle and transform byproducts into valuable and usable materials, such as animal feed, pet food, and fertilizer, while also diverting waste from landfills and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. There is a company called DUPS in Germantown, Ohio, just south of where you saw this, that makes these. Given where you saw it, it was likely one of theirs. You can see a couple of these on railroad cars in the Google Street View outside their factory. I used to live near this plant and saw these all the time. What are these shiny blocks that feel kind of like wood but might not be? They all say Astral on them, and I found them in the drawer of an antique sewing table. What are these things? These are mid-century brass rubbing wax bars. These were used, and to some extent still are, in a hobby that took hold after World War II. They are used in the hobby of brass rubbing, which is the rubbing over with wax sticks, and the reproduction onto paper of commemorative brass plaques found in churches, usually on the floor, from between the 13th and 16th centuries. They depict medieval knights and their ladies, abbots, abbesses, and the emerging middle classes, and are an insight into the social history of the period, particularly of costume, heraldry, and family connections. What is this thing I found among some bar gadgets and equipment my grandfather left me? When you tilt it at a certain angle, it starts to play music. Any idea what this oddly beautiful object is for? It's a 1960s musical liquor pourer. It plays as it pours. It has a standard pourer with a musical attachment cleverly concealed and playing appropriate music when the bottle is tilted sufficiently to start liquor flowing. Just wind the pourer up and the music plays when you pour a drink. What is this wooden thing I found at a flea market? We have no idea what it is. Around 3 feet tall, and it has some pedals with straps on them. My friend said it's an antique toilet paper roll holder, a rolling pin holder, a holder for magazines at a library, or a rack that holds pedals like sewing machine pedals, piano pedals, or something to do with some other instrument or piece of machinery. Have any of you ever seen something like this? Please let us know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.